Feeling inquisitive? I'm feeling inquisitive today, and it's a good thing to feel inquisitive because you've just acquired the latest episode of Audio Oomox, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine podcast with your host,
Brian and
Alex. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the show. Hello to you, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well, and this is kind of an unusual time frame, so we can go into the Tranya straight away. We're actually recording in the morning as opposed to in the evening, so my Tranya is some French roast coffee, double strong, and you?
Early in the morning. Yeah, I've got some coffee, double strong, double sweet. And
Jamaica blend?
Yeah, I made a blend. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Yeah, so this will be interesting for listeners if the content's uninteresting, at least to trying to determine who's the morning person out of out of Brian and Alex.
Having spent a few years in the military, I think you'll figure it out pretty quickly.
All right. Well, before we get rolling on this episode, which we have a few comments about, called Profit and Loss, I want to talk a little bit about profit and loss, if I could. First of all, profit, huge thanks to listener Chris, who donated to the cause. Chris threw some latinum into the pot to help keep the show going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. It's so gratifying to just be minding your own business and then get a note. You just received money from so-and-so. And I'm like, my first thought's always like, yeah, I don't know what my first thought is when I see that, because it doesn't happen all that much yet. But it's just like, I'm like, oh, did somebody make a mistake or did but no, if you don't know what we're talking about, we have a link on our Twitter page, and I believe it's also linked on our About section on Facebook. If it's not, we need to. That basically says if you want to throw a little bit of latinum in the kitty to help, with the hosting of the show, help us occasionally boost some posts on Facebook, that kind of thing, it's always welcome. You just go through PayPal, and you can put anywhere from $1 on up. And we've had some very generous donors, Rusty and Mike and Chris and a couple others. I'm sorry, I'm blanking a little bit, but we've had some really nice folks giving some money, and just understand the money is put to good use. It goes right into the hosting fees. We have fees every month. If you're not a podcaster, you may not know this. It's free to you to listen to the show, and it's basically free for us to produce the show. It's our time and effort, but we have to pay a hosting service and a syndication service, basically. And, of course, we have upkeep on things like microphones and stuff like that, which we pretty well buy on with our own money. But it's nice to know that we have some money every now and then to go towards the hosting so we can put our money towards gear. That's kind of how that works. It's not like we take, we got $50 from John Smith, we're going to buy a new microphone. That's not how it works. It's more like, let's apply that to the hosting fees. And that's less money out of our own pockets, so we can use that money for gear if we need it, or, raktajino, which I need more of right now. So that's the profit side. A little bit of loss here. This is just more a personal one. I don't know if you heard, Brian, but Gilberto, I think that's his name, João, I don't know. It's hard. Can't pronounce it very well. Bossa Nova King, though, who wrote one of our favorite tunes, has passed away. We have lost the man who wrote The Girl from Ipanema.
Oh, tragic. And that's I think one of the greatest songs of all time, actually. Pop songs, for sure.
Yeah, we always kind of make fun of it, a little bit, because we don't make fun of it like it's bad. We make fun of it just because it's so ubiquitous.
Right.
Actually, it was Jobim who wrote The Girl from Ipanema, but the guy who kind of made it, the artist who made it, has passed away. I should be clear on that. Because, I thought I was right. I thought, it's Antonio Jobim who wrote it. But the guy who really made it happen was João Gilberto. And he was the master of the Bossa Nova, and he died at 88 yesterday.
So just a bit of history. That was a song that anytime Alex and I were at a concert together and people were hollering out, asking for requests from the audience, we'd yell, "Girl from Ipanema, play Girl from Ipanema." And a couple of times
they played it.
We have had them play at least some of it. Yeah. And it's quite funny, and it got the crowd, it got the band chuckling for sure, and got the crowd involved.
The last time I did that, actually, my wife and I went and saw Pete Yorn here in town a few months ago, and he did that. It was at a a little theater venue. It was very cozy. There was a few hundred folks there, and he was just saying, "What do you want to hear?" And people were yelling out different songs. And there's one guy behind me who would shut the F up about the same song. He kept doing it like for
Freebird.
Well, it wasn't that, but it was like the Yorn version of Freebird. But then finally somebody said, "Dude, we haven't heard you the first 10 times." And it was so great. And then I went, "Girl from Ipanema." I'm not sure Pete heard me, but some people around me did, and they kind of chuckled. So anyway, that's some profit and loss that we have there. And I wanted to say one last thing is that it's in the news right now, which we're recording on Sunday, July 7th. Big ups and concern and best wishes to our California listeners. We know you're dealing with some rolling thunder. You're dealing with some serious earthquake action there, and I just hope and pray that it's not the big one coming your way. You're overdue.
Right.
So I know you keep getting hit in the past few days, and just know that you're on my mind, and I'm sure Brian feels the same.
Yeah, please stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah, reminds me of a cute story real quick. I used to work with a dude, not overly brainiac guy, but he at one time had lived in California, and when he moved there from Oklahoma, and he was there for a while, and he was working like at a car dealership or something, and they told him, well, if an earthquake comes, get like under a door jamb. You'll be safe, if you're under because you need to get under something that's load bearing, right?
Right. Something provide a little support. Right.
So the first quake he ever felt, and it was not like a 6 or a 7 like they've been having, but it was a significant one. He felt it. He was out on the lot, and so the quake started going. And somebody said earthquake, so he ran inside and got under a door chair.
Yeah.
Somebody said, "Okay, why did you run into the building?" "Well, it's safer there." I'm telling you.
So you can't fix stupid. Isn't that the?
You can't fix stupid. Yeah, and some people are stuck in that gear.
Yeah.
Don't we know it? Well, I will. That's all I've got there, other than to say, please check the show notes for links to ways to give, ways for you to send us an email with an audio comment. It's all there. I don't want to beat the dead horse.
Yeah.
Spend 20
please
minutes.
Participate and invite your friends.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we'll jump into the actual episode of Profit and Loss, and it starts out with a heavily damaged Cardassian vessel is approaching the station. They need to find a spot for it. They bring it in. I'm not sure if they tow it into the station or if it's able to limp into one of the docking bays.
Didn't they just kind of pull it over to one of the bays?
Yeah. They bring it in, and this Dr. Lang and two young folk come off the vessel. They claim they were hit by a meteor shower or some such mess, and they board Deep Space Nine, and Miles says he will assess the damage. He seems as cordial as he can be to Cardassians.
And you know, I'm glad you said that, because I was watching his face, and it's just a rictus. He's not even making any. Yeah. He's not being overly pleasant at all. And I think when I watched it, to be honest with you, I didn't engage with. Oh wait, Miles is going through his own little personal, not flashback, but personal. I don't like these people, but it's my job.
Right.
Because I thought there was a lack of warmth there, and then duh. Now I get it. Thank you.
Not much eye contact. Just okay, I'll do my thing to get him off the station.
He said, "I'll have to look at it first." Basically, right? He's like, "I'm not promising you anything. Right. You know, I'm not going to bust my ass to do it." It's kind of what he sounded like he was saying. But...
Exactly. And so we're now introduced to Dr. Lang and Raquelin and Hogue, which are we will find are 3 dissidents, but they are being played by some interesting characters. First, Dr. Lang is played by Mary Crosby of Dallas fame, and some she's done a few other more recent roles, but without tipping too much of the episode's plot line. So she went from shooting JR to shooting Quark.
You went to the office that night with JR's gun. It was you, Kristen, who shot J.R. Then the next morning while I was showering, you hid the gun in the closet.
You think you've got it all figured out.
Get me the police.
I thought that was pretty apropos.
Yeah, that was really great. You shot me. Yeah,
that
was funny.
And then Raquelin is played by Heidi Swedberg, which she was. You may know her from Seinfeld as George Costanza's wife that dies of whatever glue poisoning
from licking.
So, yeah, and not to get into the weeds of her acting skills, but in this episode, she was, pretty monotone, pretty mono. There wasn't a lot going on there with her.
It's interesting this came up because just yesterday I was reading a new article about her. She quit acting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She was on Seinfeld, and there's an article in Esquire. I'll try to remember to put the link in the show notes where she was actually universally hated by the rest of the cast.
Really?
Yeah, very unkind things were said about her by Jason Alexander, and there's also something said by even Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I adore, but she was kind of like wanted that character killed off because they didn't like working with the actress. They just felt like she didn't click. Mm-hmm. And I'm not I like Seinfeld, but I'm not I don't think it's the genius thing a lot of people do, and I'm not trying to be contrarian. I just don't. I think it's amusing, but I don't think it holds up very well now, frankly, but it's a show from the 90s, so what do you expect? Okay. Point being, I think her character, though, was supposed to be a foil. I thought she was supposed to be a straight man. I thought she was supposed to be like somebody that the characters would despise, and I think she did that admirably, but I can also see from your point talking about DS9, she's stylized enough as an actress that it can be strange, because I'll tell you this real quick. I did notice throughout the performance, she had the character, at least she played, had a tendency to look down all the time. Mm-hmm. Even when she walked, she was looking down. Did you notice that? And I
did.
I didn't know. Is that a choice that she made, or is that just how the actress went with it? Or
yeah, I don't know. For me, I found it distracting.
Yeah, it was.
It was like she was trying to be too serious or alter her voice so no one would recognize it was her.
Or maybe she had it in her head I'm playing an alien. I've got to be a little more different. I don't know.
Right.
But,
I don't know.
Choices are made. I'll just say one last thing about Seinfeld, though. I think one thing people forget about Seinfeld is those characters, George and Elaine and Kramer, and all, they're not supposed to be likable.
Right.
I think people miss that a lot. That's why the whole finale was they went on trial, is because they're really pretty despicable people.
Right. And very selfish.
They're selfish. Part. Yeah, they're not evil, but they're selfish and self-absorbed. And I don't think a lot of people get that. And so it's funny when I remember back in the day, people ape a lot of things they said and be like, yeah, that's the way you're supposed to be. And I'm just like, you're missing the point here.
Yeah, they're taking New York to the extreme.
Right. And it's like the same people who lionize The Sopranos. It's like, okay, it's a good show, but let's don't lionize these mobsters and murderers. Okay, let's don't, I mean on a individual fan basis, let's just remember who it's like the same people, they did that with The Godfather too. It's just I want to be like, Corleone and all that, but it's like, just stick
and I love Dexter as a series. That doesn't mean I want to become a sociopath that goes and kills bad guys.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
the day's young.
The day is young. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, so I didn't want to take too much of a detour there, but I'll try to remember to put that link in the show
that's fine. And then the last one is Hogue, who was played by Michael Riley Burke. You may see him again. He starred as Ted Bundy in a 2002 movie of the same name, and and so with all this emphasis on Netflix and a new movie in production about Bundy and the Bundy tapes, and so that may start resurfacing. But that was the only thing. I think he had done a few TV series and had some other parts in movies, but that was the one that kind of stuck out to me. And again, his acting seemed a little. I don't know how to. There wasn't a lot there for me.
I don't think anybody's bad in this one as acting. I think that there's some interesting choices. I don't know. They were, but it's okay. Let's defend them a little more. Isn't it nice to not see Cardassians being kind of mustache twirling villains? And
true. Yeah, they're dissidents. They were, political dissidents, students of Professor Lang, and fighting for, the real future of Cardassia, or against military rule of Cardassia, that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, so that's them. They, the ship's it's gonna take a while for the ship to be repaired. So they run down to get something to drink. Quark sees them, and lo and behold, Professor Lang is Quark's old flame from 7 years ago. so he shows up and says, hey, how are you? And she promptly slaps him in the face. So we're now introduced to this apparent love-hate relationship between Quark and Professor Lang. While at Quark's, Dr. Bashir and Garak are having a conversation, and Garak notices another Cardassian there on the station, makes eye contact as he walks past. And so now we get to spend a little bit of time exploring Garak just a bit more as well. So I mean, without going into a ton of detail, those are the two major plot lines. Is Quark and Professor Lang exploring what's going on, why they broke up, why she's still mad at him. I guess he tried to used some of her connections to steal some money from the Cardassians, and she wasn't not too pleased. And then the story of Garak, who's we're learning more that he may or may not be a spy, but he was definitely placed in exile, is not welcome on Cardassia right now, and so he's attempting in his own way to win favor back of the Cardassian government, while still being true to his ethic of justice. So that kind of explain it properly.
Yeah.
So Quark's trying to angle in to keep Professor Lang at the station with him. He had surreptitiously stolen or acquired a cloaking device. So once the ship is repaired, he wants to trade the cloaking device for Professor Lang staying. So the kids can get that and go. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't seem to work. Professor Lang promptly shoots him, and wanting to take the device, and then she realizes she does still have feelings for him. They at that point, the Bajorans kind of weigh in and decide they want to trade these political dissidents, who are Cardassians anyway, for some Bajoran prisoners of war. And so they come and arrest Professor Lang and the kids, put them in jail, and so then we shoot back to Garak, who's meeting with a Cardassian who's been promoted to Gull, and he's apparently not the brightest bulb. And
just goes to show you can be a general or whatever and still be an idiot, but
right.
Kind of like Michael Flynn.
And so this but this Gull reveals that they're going to, they don't want these political dissidents to leave the station, but Garak could maybe win the hearts of the Cardassian military if he takes care of this execution. So then we twist over to Quark meeting with Odo. He's just begging for him to let these people go, revealing the fact that he does have this illegal cloaking device. And Odo, having a strong sense of justice himself and reading Mickey Spillane on his Kindle.
Right. I, the jury.
decides, he's going to let them go. Now, we don't hear anything about what the repercussions of these people being, let go and escaping. I'm assuming that those 6 political Bajoran prisoners of war, I'm assuming they won't make it to the station for the trade. So they're going back to jail, but, we don't talk much about that. So
tough shit,
man. So anyway, so they break these people out, and there's the long goodbye where Quark says, "Oh, I just have to wait until Cardassia is has a free and fair government, and then we'll be back together and live in paradise and go back to the Hollow Suite and watch the double sunset." And then Garak shows up, and he's he looks like he's prepared to shoot them all, and then this dumb Gull shows up, takes Garak's gun. Unbeknownst to him, Garak also has a second gun that he had taken from Professor Lang, I believe. And so when the Gull gets ready to shoot, Garak turns around and shoots him. I mean, completely vaporizes him. And let me go down just a brief rabbit trail. I thought there were lots of sensors on these most of these ships that would, anytime a phaser goes off, you would think there would be like warning signs go, and a big security crew would show up because they have sensors that are specifically looking for that.
I think you're totally
right. Those apparently were malfunctioning, or
no, I think I know what happened there.
Miles turned it off.
No, I think Garak created some kind of field in that area because he knew he was going to burn somebody down. But they could have, Garak could have said something like, "And don't think that's going to bring in the cavalry after, or whatever." He could have, a line like that would have been helpful.
But it didn't happen in the at Professor Lang's hotel room.
Oh,
either.
That's true. That's true too. Now maybe now here, this is how you go back and you're just like, let's try and make this fit. Let's do a writer's plot rescue here. Maybe if it's on anything less than kill, it doesn't show up. Okay, but that's pretty weird.
So you could just walk around the ship stunning
people, and you could just like,
I do that everywhere I go.
Well, that's what I hear. Just stunning people wherever you go. But no, but it's a good point. There's some plot holes you could drive a truck through on this one.
Okay, so Garak shoots the Gull. I can't remember his name. But
Gull,
and just vaporize him. I mean, completely disappears. So, and then they say their goodbyes. They hop on the ship and they disappear. There's a interesting conversation there at the end between Quark and Garak about love, and Garak loves Cardassia, and so he does some things that people may not understand.
That's the thing about love. No one really understands it, do they? Yeah, Skull Terrain, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's Gull Subterran.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's basically, that's the episode. There were You're groaning a bit. So for me, I thought there was some interesting character development of Garak. Just his, learning a little bit more about his history. I